"Do not step back into that hallway," the stranger said, and Liam Carter decided this was officially the worst wrong door in recorded history. At 1:17 in the morning, soaked from a thunderstorm and carrying a camera bag that weighed nearly 20 pounds, Liam had expected an irritated tourist, maybe a sleepy businessman, possibly a complaint to hotel security. He had not expected Adrian Vale. Even people who avoided business news knew that face. Sharp gray eyes, black hair combed neatly back, and the calm expression of a man who owned half the skyline and had probably never searched his couch cushions for rent money. Liam tightened his grip on the cream-colored envelope in his hand. "Room 3716?" he asked, already knowing the answer. Adrian's gaze flicked toward the brass numbers beside the door. 3718, great. Liam had climbed 37 floors, survived an elevator that played jazz covers of pop songs, and still managed to miss by 2 rooms. "Wrong door," he muttered. "Sorry, I'll disappear now." He turned, but a strange dizziness rolled through him before he completed the first step. The hallway tilted. Gold lights stretched into blurry lines, and his knees suddenly forgot their only job. A steady hand caught his elbow before he hit the carpet. Adrian released him almost immediately, as though even helping required permission. "Are you sick?" His voice was lower than Liam expected, controlled but edged with concern. "No, I'm just tired, wet, underpaid, and apparently incapable of reading numbers." Liam tried to laugh, but his pulse was racing. Something warm and unfamiliar lingered in the air, carrying hints of cedarwood and cold rain. Alpha scent. His suppressant should have muted his reaction. It always had. Yet the bottle in his pocket suddenly felt like a very expensive lie. Adrian took one careful step back, putting space between them. His jaw tightened. "Your blocker is failing." Liam's embarrassment vanished beneath a sharper flash of alarm. "That's impossible." "It isn't." Adrian's eyes shifted past him toward the far end of the corridor. His posture changed so subtly Liam almost missed it. The billionaire no longer looked surprised. He looked alert. 2 men in dark coats had stepped out near the elevators, scanning each doorway as they moved. One of them glanced down at a phone, then said something Liam could not hear. Adrian opened his door wider. Inside, Liam stared at him. "You cannot seriously expect me to walk into a stranger's hotel room because you used your billionaire voice." Adrian did not smile. "You can stay here if you choose." His eyes returned to the approaching men. "But they are searching for an Omega in a gray coat." Liam looked down. His coat was gray. The envelope slipped slightly in his damp fingers, and Adrian finally noticed the name written across the front. Every trace of color left his face. "Where did you get that?" Liam followed his stare. "A man downstairs paid me $50 to deliver it." Adrian looked at the envelope as if it belonged to a past that had just knocked on his door. Then he looked at Liam. "The man named there tried to destroy my life 3 years ago." For one suspended second, Liam could hear only the rain against the windows and the soft mechanical hum of the hotel ventilation. Then one of the men near the elevators looked up. Adrian moved without touching him, stepping into the doorway, so his broad frame blocked Liam from view. "The choice is yours," he said quietly. "You can come inside, or you can remain here and speak with them." Liam looked at the 2 strangers, then at the envelope in his hand, then at Adrian Vale, who somehow made standing perfectly still look like a corporate command. "This is how every bad decision begins," Liam muttered as he crossed the threshold. Adrian closed the door, but instead of locking it, he removed the key card from his pocket and placed it on the marble entry table. "The door opens from the inside. You are not trapped." Liam stared at the card. That small gesture should not have mattered. It did. The penthouse was larger than Liam's entire apartment building lobby, all dark wood, cream furniture, and windows overlooking a city blurred by rain. He remained near the entrance, clutching his camera bag against his chest. "Who are those men?" "I do not know yet." Adrian walked to a control panel and contacted hotel security. His voice stayed measured, but Liam noticed the tension in his shoulders. "Lock access to the 37th floor. Send Mason Reed to my suite." No one else. He ended the call and turned. "May I see the envelope?" Liam hesitated before placing it on the table. Adrian did not open it. He studied the handwriting as if each letter carried a memory. "The name belongs to Grant Mercer," he said. "He was my father's closest advisor. 3 years ago, he attempted to remove me from my own company using falsified financial records. And now he is paying exhausted photographers to deliver mysterious mail after midnight? Liam asked. I'm not usually this interesting. Most nights I edit wedding pictures and argue with my landlord. A faint change touched Adrian's expression, almost a smile, but it disappeared when Liam swayed again. Sit down. That sounded less like a suggestion. Then allow me to improve it. Please sit down. Liam lowered himself onto the edge of a chair. The cedarwood scent in the room had grown stronger, yet Adrian kept nearly 12 feet between them. He opened a cabinet, removed a sealed bottle of water, and set it on the table within Liam's reach. Your suppressant, Adrian said. When did you take it? Around 9 tonight. Same brand I have used for 2 years. Do you have the bottle? Liam pulled it from his coat pocket and slid it across the table. Adrian read the label, and his eyes sharpened. This lot number was recalled last month. Liam's stomach dropped. That would have been useful information before my body started treating a hotel hallway like an emergency. A quiet knock came from the door. Adrian glanced at the security screen. Mason is here. Liam started to rise, but Adrian lifted one hand, not toward him, only in warning. On the screen, Mason stood alone. Farther down the corridor, one of the strangers raised a phone and showed the other man a photograph. Even through the grainy image, Liam recognized his own gray coat. Adrian looked back at him. You may leave whenever you decide. But until we know why they have your picture, stepping into that hallway would not be freedom. It would be exactly what someone planned. Mason entered only after Adrian checked the security screen twice. He was tall, silver-haired, and dressed in a navy suit that looked untouched by the storm outside. His gaze moved from Liam to the envelope, then to the recalled suppressant bottle on the table. The two men left the floor when security approached, Mason said. They used temporary guest credentials registered under false names. Liam raised a hand. Wonderful. I have officially become interesting enough for fake identities. My mother will be thrilled. Mason almost smiled, but Adrian did not. His attention remained fixed on Liam with an intensity that made the enormous room feel strangely small. Then Adrian turned away too quickly and gripped the back of a chair. Liam noticed the change at once. The billionaire's breathing had become uneven. The scent of cedarwood and cold rain deepened around them, no longer subtle, but Adrian immediately moved farther away. Mason, he said, his voice carefully controlled, called Dr. Bennett. Mason studied him. Your stabilizer should still be active. It is not. Liam looked between them. What does that mean? Adrian crossed toward the far side of the suite, placing nearly 20 feet between them. Someone may have interfered with more than your medication. He opened a window vent, turned the air filtration system to its highest setting, and faced the glass instead of Liam. Every movement was deliberate, precise, like control was something he had to build one careful breath at a time. You should take the guest room, Adrian said. The door locks from your side. You are the one who looks like he might fall over. I will be fine. That is what people say immediately before becoming very much not fine. Mason stepped closer to Liam, but kept a respectful distance. Mr. Vale has a rare scent processing condition. He has been unable to detect alpha or omega scents for most of his adult life. Liam frowned. Then why did he know my suppressant was failing? Silence settled over the room. Adrian slowly turned from the window. His gray eyes met Liam's, and for the first time, the calm expression cracked enough to reveal confusion beneath it. Because I could smell you, he said. Liam forgot every clever response he had ever learned. Mason looked equally unsettled. That should not be possible, he said. Adrian's jaw tightened. I am aware. Liam glanced at the recalled bottle, the unopened envelope, and the city lights trembling across the wet glass. What exactly do I smell like? The question escaped before good judgment could stop it. Adrian looked away, almost embarrassed. Green apples after rain. Liam stared. That is oddly specific. It is also irrelevant. It feels slightly relevant to me. Another wave of dizziness passed through Liam, but this time Adrian did not approach. He pointed toward the water instead. Drink. Slowly. Liam obeyed, more because the room had started drifting than because Adrian sounded like a man accustomed to being followed. After a moment, his pulse eased. Adrian's did too. Mason noticed first. His eyes narrowed as he watched the monitor on Adrian's wrist. Your heart rate is stabilizing. Adrian looked at Liam. Liam looked back. The distance between them remained wide, yet something invisible had settled into place, quiet and undeniable. Liam's failing suppressant had not made Adrian lose control. Somehow, Liam's presence was helping him regain it. Dr. Claire Bennett arrived 12 minutes later with a medical case in one hand and the expression of someone who had been called away from sleep far too many times by wealthy people making complicated decisions. She examined Liam first, confirmed that his suppressant had failed, then checked Adrian from across the room. "Your vitals improve when Mr. Carter is nearby," she said. "That does not mean he is medicine, and it certainly does not mean you have any claim on him." Adrian's answer came immediately. "I know." Something in the certainty of his voice made Liam look up. Claire gave them both temporary stabilizers and instructed Mason to keep the floor sealed until the men in the hallway were identified. Then she left, promising to return before sunrise. The moment the elevator doors closed behind her, Adrian walked into the master bedroom. "The guest room is yours," he told Liam. "Food is in the kitchen. Mason will remain outside the suite." Liam frowned. "Where are you going?" "Away from you." Adrian stepped inside and closed the door. A lock clicked. Liam stared at it for several seconds before turning to Mason. Did the billionaire just put himself in timeout? Mason adjusted his cuff. Mr. Vale prefers the phrase controlled isolation. Of course he does. Mason left to coordinate security, and the penthouse became painfully quiet. Liam wandered into the kitchen, found a bowl of fruit arranged with suspicious perfection, and selected an apple. He took one bite, remembered Adrian's description of his scent, and immediately put it back. "That feels weird now," he muttered. From behind the bedroom door came Adrian's voice. "You do not need to whisper. I can hear you." Liam leaned against the wall beside the door. "Good. Then you can explain why the lock is on your side. Because you are free to use the emergency exit whenever you choose." Liam glanced toward the illuminated sign at the end of the hall and walked past men carrying my photograph. "That is your decision. You say that often. People with power should." The answer landed more heavily than Liam expected. He lowered himself to the carpet, sitting with his back against the wall. On the other side, there was a soft rustle, then silence. Liam imagined Adrian doing the same. "My mother signed a courtship agreement for me when I was 19, Liam said before he could reconsider. "The alpha was from a wealthy family. She called it security. I called it being traded with nicer paperwork." Adrian said nothing, but Liam could hear his breathing. "I left before the ceremony. Since then, I have avoided powerful alphas, expensive hotels, and anyone who uses the word destiny before dessert. Reasonable policies." Liam smiled despite himself. "What about you? Why do you look terrified every time your scent changes?" The pause stretched. "My father believed being an alpha gave him the right to control every person in his life," Adrian finally said. "He called possession protection. I learned the difference too late." "So you built an empire around locked doors?" "No," Adrian said. "I built it around making sure the locks were always on my side." The words left Liam strangely still. Then a dull sound came from inside the room, followed by silence. Liam rose and placed his hand on the doorknob. "Adrian." "No answer." "I am opening this door." "You should not." "That was not a request." Liam unlocked it and stepped inside. Adrian sat on the floor beneath the blue light of the city, shoulders against the bed, hands folded tightly in his lap. He looked exhausted, not dangerous. Liam remained near the doorway until Adrian met his eyes. "May I come closer?" Liam asked. Adrian's expression softened with surprise. "Only if it is your choice." Liam crossed the room and sat several feet away. For the first time that night, neither of them tried to leave. For several minutes, the only sound in the room was rain tapping the windows and the distant whisper of traffic 37 floors below. Liam sat with his knees drawn up, leaving several feet between himself and Adrian. The space felt deliberate, almost sacred. Adrian's breathing gradually steadied, and the tension in his hands loosened. "You were right," Liam said. "About what?" "My presence helping you." Adrian looked toward the window. "That does not make you responsible for me." "I know. I am still allowed to notice." Before Adrian could answer, Liam's camera bag vibrated against the floor. He frowned, opened it, and found his camera still running in wireless transfer mode. A small blue light blinked beside the memory card slot. "That is strange," he murmured. "I turned this off downstairs." Adrian shifted forward but stopped himself. "May I look?" Liam handed him the camera. careful to avoid touching his fingers. Adrian examined the screen, then returned it without pressing anything. The transfer began at 12:48. Liam scrolled through the photographs from the hotel lobby. Most were harmless test shots: chandeliers, marble columns, a tired bellman pretending not to yawn. Then he reached a blurred image taken near the private elevators. Wait. He enlarged it. A man in a gray suit stood beside a hotel employee, passing him something small and silver. The angle was poor, but the man's face was clear. Adrian went completely still. Grant Mercer. Liam looked from the photograph to the envelope on the table outside. That is the same man. Yes. In the next image, the hotel employee slipped the silver object into his jacket. In the image after that, Grant looked directly toward Liam's camera. The final photograph showed one of the strangers from the hallway pointing in Liam's direction. Liam's stomach tightened. They knew I had pictures. Adrian rose slowly, keeping his movements calm. Your camera may be the reason they followed you. I was taking lighting tests. I did not even know they were there. That may not matter to them. Liam continued scrolling until another image appeared. A temporary staff badge hung from the employee's pocket, and beneath it was the access symbol for the executive floor. Adrian exhaled. That explains how someone reached this suite. The bedroom door opened, and Mason appeared after knocking once. Liam showed him the photographs. Mason's professional calm cracked for half a second. These could clear Mr. Vale and identify the employee, but there is a problem. Photography is prohibited near the private elevators. Grant's attorneys may claim Mr. Carter entered a restricted area to collect confidential material. Liam laughed once, without humor. So the proof that saves him could ruin me. Adrian took the memory card from the camera only after Liam nodded. He held it beneath the lamp, studying the tiny square of plastic as though it weighed more than his entire company. Delete the photographs, he said. Mason stared at him. Adrian, these images could end Grant's challenge before the board meets. And they could pull Liam into years of litigation. Adrian placed the card in Liam's palm and folded Liam's fingers over it without touching his skin. The choice belongs to him. Liam searched his face. You would let your company fall to protect someone you met less than an hour ago. Adrian's gray eyes softened. An empire can be rebuilt. A person should not have to be. By 2:30 in the morning, hotel security had confirmed that the strangers were gone, the temporary credentials had been disabled, and every camera on. The executive floor was under review. Mason stood near the penthouse entrance with a tablet in hand, while Adrian spoke to the hotel attorney in a voice so calm that Liam almost forgot the entire evening had begun with men carrying his photograph. Almost. The restriction has been lifted, Mason said. Mr. Carter may leave safely through the private garage. Liam looked at Adrian, expecting instructions, conditions, or at least the kind of complicated agreement billionaires kept ready for inconvenient strangers. Adrian offered none. Instead, he placed a business card beside Liam's camera. This belongs to an attorney who does not work for my company. If anyone contacts you about tonight, call her. Her services have already been covered, but she answers to you. Liam picked up the card. You hired me a lawyer without hiring me. That was the intention. And what happens to the photographs? Adrian glanced at the memory card still resting in Liam's palm. Whatever you decide. Liam studied him for a moment, then returned the card to his camera instead of deleting anything. I am keeping them. Not for your board. Not yet. I am keeping them because someone followed me through a hotel, and I would like to know why. Adrian nodded once. No argument. No pressure. Somehow, that made Liam trust him more than any promise could have. Mason arranged a car, and Adrian walked Liam as far as the private elevator. He did not ask for Liam's telephone number. He did not offer money. He did not turn one strange hour into a debt. When the elevator doors opened, Liam stepped inside and waited for Adrian to say something that would make leaving easier. Adrian only said, "You were never responsible for what happened in that room." Liam tightened his grip on the camera bag. Neither were you. The doors closed between them. 20 minutes later, Liam sat in the back seat of a quiet black sedan moving through rain-slicked streets. The city looked softer at that hour, all traffic lights and empty sidewalks, as though New York itself had finally lowered its voice. Liam reached into his bag for his camera and froze. The torn shoulder strap had been replaced. So had the cracked zipper, and the section of padding he had repaired with silver tape. It was not a new bag. It was his bag, carefully restored. Inside the front pocket was a small storage drive labeled Carter Family Archive. Liam stared at it, confused, then connected it to his laptop. Hundreds of photographs appeared. His father laughing beside a backyard grill. His mother before worry had hardened her smile. Liam at 12 years old holding his first camera as if it were treasure. The files had vanished when his old computer failed 2 years earlier. He had mentioned them once, briefly, while checking his wireless transfer history. Adrian had listened. He had found the backup hidden in the camera account and recovered it without making a speech, without attaching a price, without asking for anything in return. Liam pressed one hand over his mouth as the car crossed the bridge toward Brooklyn. He had spent years believing powerful men noticed only what they could own. Adrian Vale had noticed what Liam was afraid to lose. On the seat beside him, the attorney's card remained untouched. Liam picked up his telephone, opened a new message, and realized he did not have Adrian's number. For reasons he could not explain, that absence felt less like an ending and more like a door left open. At 8:45 the next morning, Liam stood outside the executive boardroom on the 42nd floor of Vale Meridian headquarters, wearing yesterday's wrinkled shirt, a borrowed navy jacket, and the expression of a man who had slept for 40 minutes and made a series of increasingly questionable choices. Mason had found him in the lobby 10 minutes earlier and asked only one question. "Are you certain?" Liam had looked at the restored camera bag on his shoulder. "No, but I am here anyway." Through the glass doors, Grant Mercer was speaking to 12 board members seated around a long walnut table. Adrian stood near the windows, perfectly composed, while a large screen displayed security stills from the hotel. Mr. Vale concealed an unstable Omega in his private suite, Grant said. He restricted access to the floor and endangered the company's reputation. Liam pushed open the doors before courage. Could file a formal complaint and leave his body. Every face turned toward him. Grant's polite smile vanished. Adrian's expression changed only slightly, but Liam saw relief move through his gray eyes. "Mr. Carter," Grant said, "this is a private meeting." Liam lifted his camera. "That is interesting, because you did not care much about privacy when you had 2 men follow me through a hotel." A murmur passed around the table. Mason connected Liam's memory card to the display. The photographs appeared one by one. Grant beside the private elevators, the silver container changing hands, the temporary access badge, and the strangers watching Liam from across the lobby. Grant folded his hands. Unclear images taken in a restricted area by a frightened young man. Hardly proof. Liam's pulse climbed, but his voice remained steady. "Then let me clarify what happened. Adrian Vale did not trap me. He showed me the exit. He gave me the key card. He stayed 20 feet away when my medication failed, and when his own condition worsened, he locked himself behind a door so I could choose whether to stay." Adrian looked at him as though the rest of the room had disappeared. Grant reached beneath the table and pressed something near his briefcase. A faint mechanical click sounded. Liam smelled it first, an artificial wave of sharp cedar and bitter smoke moving through the ventilation system. Several alphas around the table shifted uncomfortably. Adrian's shoulders tightened. Grant leaned back, waiting. Liam understood at once. He wanted Adrian to lose control in front of the board. Adrian closed his eyes and held perfectly still. His breathing changed, but he did not move toward anyone. Liam crossed the room slowly, stopping several feet away. "Adrian," he said. No response. The artificial scent thickened. Grant began to speak, but Liam ignored him. "Look at me." Adrian opened his eyes. Liam held out his hand, palm up, offering rather than asking. Adrian stared at it for one long second before placing his hand in Liam's. His grip was careful, almost weightless. The tension in his shoulders eased. The room grew silent as the board watched the supposedly unstable alpha regain control through trust instead of command. Mason located the small device beneath Grant's briefcase and switched it off. Grant rose abruptly, but hotel security was already waiting outside to escort him for questioning. Adrian did not look away from Liam. "You came back," he said quietly. Liam glanced at their joined hands. "You restored photographs I thought I had lost forever. The least I could do was return with the ones that might save your company." Adrian's expression softened. "You were never required to save me." Liam gave him a tired smile. "Good. I would hate for this to become a habit." The board reconvened 1 hour later after security removed the scent device and investigators collected statements from everyone in the room. Grant Mercer was gone, but the damage he had planned still lingered in the worried faces around the table. Liam sat beside Mason near the door, holding a paper cup of coffee that tasted like burnt regret. Adrian stood at the head of the table, his suit still immaculate, although exhaustion had softened the sharp lines of his expression. Evelyn Shaw, the oldest board member, folded her hands. The evidence clears you of misconduct, Adrian, but the public will not understand the details. They will hear that an alpha executive lost control in a hotel room with an unregistered Omega. Liam nearly crushed his coffee cup. He did not lose control. Evelyn glanced at him without hostility. I believe you. Investors may not. Another board member opened a leather folder. There is a traditional solution. A formal courtship agreement with an Omega from an established family would demonstrate stability. The room became silent. Liam felt 19 again, standing in his mother's kitchen while strangers discussed his future as if he were not present. Adrian did not look at the folder. No, the board member blinked. You have not reviewed the proposed candidates. They are people, not candidates. Adrian's voice remained calm. And I will not sign a contract that turns another person into proof of my reliability. Evelyn leaned forward. Refusal may cost you your position as chief executive officer. Then accept my resignation. Liam set down his coffee so quickly that the lid slid across the table. You cannot be serious. Adrian finally looked at him. I am. You built this company. I also built rules that were supposed to protect people from exactly this kind of arrangement. Keeping my title by violating those rules would make them meaningless. The board members began speaking at once, but Adrian removed his access badge and placed it on the table. The small click cut through every voice. He signed a temporary transfer of authority to Evelyn, thanked the staff, and walked out without asking anyone to follow. Liam found him several minutes later on the rooftop terrace, where the morning rain had faded into mist. Manhattan stretched around them in silver and glass. Adrian stood near the railing, looking less like a billionaire without the badge and more like a tired man who had finally put down something heavy. You gave up an empire because of me, Liam said. Adrian turned. No, I gave up a position because the board demanded that I own someone to keep it. That distinction is annoyingly noble. I was hoping for mildly reasonable. Liam stepped closer, stopping an arm's length away. What happens now? Evelyn will lead the company. Mason will make sure Grant's actions are investigated. You will return to your life without owing me anything. Liam frowned. You are very determined to remove yourself from my life. For the first time, Adrian looked uncertain. I thought that was what you wanted. It was several disasters ago. A quiet smile reached Adrian's eyes. Then may I ask you something without a contract, a security team, or a board vote? You may ask. Adrian took a careful breath. Would you have dinner with me? Liam pretended to consider it. Somewhere without mysterious envelopes. Yes. No private elevators? Agreed. And nobody discusses my biological compatibility before dessert. That seems fair. Liam smiled. Then yes. Adrian's shoulders relaxed, and the city behind him seemed suddenly brighter. For the first time since Liam had knocked on his door, Adrian was not offering protection, money, or escape. He was offering a table, a conversation, and the freedom to say no. Liam had never received anything that felt more valuable. 3 months later, Liam stood outside room 3718 with a camera bag on one shoulder, a framed photograph under one arm, and enough nervous energy to power every elevator in the building. Vale Meridian had invited him to display his city series in the hotel gallery, although Adrian insisted the invitation had come from the new executive team and not from him. Liam believed that about as much as he believed the fresh green apples waiting in his dressing room had appeared by coincidence. The exhibition had ended 20 minutes earlier. Critics had praised the photographs, guests had purchased 6 prints, and Liam's landlord had suddenly become much friendlier after learning what gallery commissions looked like. Adrian had remained near the back of the room all evening, dressed in a charcoal suit and looking quietly proud. He had not interrupted interviews or introduced Liam as anything except the artist. Somehow, that restraint had made Liam notice him even more. Now the hallway was empty, the storm long gone, and the brass room numbers were perfectly straight. Liam checked them twice anyway, then a third time, because personal growth did not require recklessness. He knocked. The door opened almost immediately. Adrian stood there without a jacket, his dark hair slightly less controlled than usual. His gray eyes moved from Liam to the number beside the door. Wrong room again. Liam lifted the framed photograph. No. This time I checked. Adrian stepped aside but did not reach for him or assume he would enter. The choice remained where it had always belonged. Liam crossed the threshold on his own. The penthouse looked different now. Warmer. A stack of photography books occupied the coffee table, and one of Liam's smaller prints hung beside the window. It showed rain sliding down city glass while a single light burned behind it. Adrian had purchased it anonymously during Liam's first small exhibit in Brooklyn, then confessed only after Liam recognized the shipping address. You bought another one tonight, Liam said. Adrian closed the door softly. Possibly. The one with the empty chair? It did not feel empty. Liam looked at him. Adrian still had that effect, turning ordinary sentences into something that stayed in the room. Liam set the framed photograph on the table. It was the first picture he had taken after leaving the hotel that night. The city seen through the car window, blurred by rain, with the reflection of an open door glowing behind him. Beneath the image, Liam had written a single line. Some exits are only entrances viewed from the other side. Adrian read it twice. This belongs in your exhibition. It belongs here. Adrian's fingers hovered near the frame before resting lightly against its edge. Thank you. Liam smiled. You are welcome. They moved to the window, where the city stretched beneath them in gold and silver. Adrian offered his hand, palm open, waiting. Liam placed his hand in it. 3 months earlier, the same gesture had helped Adrian stand steady before a room full of people waiting for him to fail. Now there was no danger, no board, no mysterious envelope, and no reason to hold on except that both of them wanted to. Dinner is ready, Adrian said. Nothing formal. No contracts. None. No secret board members hiding under the table. I checked. Liam laughed, and the sound filled the penthouse more easily than silence ever had. Adrian looked at him with the same quiet wonder he had shown the first night, but there was no fear in it now. He moved closer only after Liam did. Their shoulders touched, gentle and unhurried. Outside, New York continued rushing through the night, but inside room 3718, neither man was running anymore.